wouldst thou like to live deliciously?
Solitus tuo, usuncarum, ungularum, delectatque contremescit me. Intro.
You got anything to add there, Bill?
My hemorrhoids hurt. That's right, folks. You're listening to 13th Elm, your favorite podcast with three guys talk about horror movies, and it's October. What does that mean?
It means Halloween Blitz, 31 Days of
Halloween
Horror.
Blitz. Woo! You guys, if you're listening to this one, you most likely listen to the last one.
I hope so. It's not going to make a lot of sense otherwise.
You probably haven't listened.
We review movies.
This
That's
is
really
week-
the gist of it.
Yeah, this is week
a loose
2.
term.
We're doing a movie every week. The first week was our short week, and now it's our weeks. And I mean that as not week, W-E-A-K.
What
I mean
the
like
fuck?
full
All right,
weeks.
I'm going to say nothing that you said made any sense because we're watching a movie every day this month, not every week. Last week
We're
was
doing
a short
podcast
week.
every week.
Yes, but
I
that's
said
also
we're
not what
watching
you
a
said.
movie every day.
It's not.
Roll it back.
Jamie. Yeah, so anyway, we fucking determined that that was a lie, and we are here on location in Salem, Mass, doing
I was going to get there.
a little something. Well, I mean, we're already here. We got here together. We fucking been here for a few hours now.
I was
And where
gonna
are we
explain
exactly?
where we are. Well, they said it was a B&B, but
mostly
it's only
just a
got
B.
half.
Yeah, we didn't really get any breakfast.
We haven't got the fucking bed yet.
It's evening, but Rob and I walked around and we looked for breakfast foods and there weren't any. So we're concerned.
There was
We were opening doors and
Well, I
closets.
think there was like Danish in the front.
that
there?
was someone that was in someone
Yeah, I
else's
think
room.
he was Swedish.
That was a man.
It was really just a carafe of like coffee and like non-dairy creamer.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Is it like the dry shit too?
yeah, the powder and the sweetened
Same,
low,
yeah.
not even like
I
sugar.
hate that
Sugar.
shit.
Those little stir straws. Who uses those?
We need to get better credit cards.
We need
Somebody
to get-
needs to get better credit
Honestly,
cards.
we
You
need
think
to
the
get
fucking studio would pay for the
commissary.
credit
You
card?
think Waffle House would like spring for commissary and like a food budget?
Well, like
They
fuck,
probably would. They love us.
or per diem ain't shit.
I mean, they're talking about branding Elmer Cafe. I don't understand why we can't get any funds. I feel like we put it all into Bill's bank account.
We still gotta.
It's
We gotta dedicate ourselves
hasn't
to
shown
the
up yet.
craft
Is it locked up in escrow?
it's locked up.
in escrow. Yeah.
Yeah, I made $7 bill off of that deal.
Oh man,
70 bill.
70 Bill in
We're splitting it once it
American?
hits the bank account. Uh-huh.
Okay. Wow.
I don't know if you get the reference. Let's go
So
to the
did we
movie that
watch
we
movies
watched
this week.
Yes, we did.
One movie
Per day.
for 7 days.
Yes, and the first one was Behind the Mask: The Rise of Leslie Vernon, 2006. This was Rob's slasher pick. You want to bring us in on this? Why'd you pick this?
This is a really great film. It's particularly well acted. It's well shot. It's funny. It's a lot of just meta parody on slashers and horror in general. It has like a bunch of stars from other slashers that you will recognize if you're a horror fan. It's just so much fun. Yeah, it's great. I love it. And Mykel had never seen it. I wasn't sure if you had seen it or not, Bill, but I tried really, really hard to find a vampire slasher film, and Bingo Bango couldn't do that. So in comes Leslie Vernon, and what a treat.
I have heard of this, but I have not seen it. But yeah, like you said, this is a horror movie for horror fans. Like you
100%.
said, I mean, it's a horror comedy. It plays on a lot of jokes. It has a lot of references that someone that just doesn't watch a decent amount of horror just wouldn't get. But they
Could still
approach it in a
appreciate-
way that I think it can and probably is still enjoyed by people that don't watch as much horror as we do.
No, and speaking from our resident horror fan, Mykel, what did you think of this film?
Oh, I mean,
As the one that likes horror movies.
As the guy who likes horror movies opposed to the other two who like gore films and vampire films. But,
Fuck you.
Yeah, so this movie is one that I haven't seen that's been eluding me for some time, and I've been curious, but I've also managed not to spoil much of it. So that was good. And like you said, this is a horror movie fans' horror movie, and it's pretty meta. There's a lot of references to like Jason, Michael, Freddy, Elm Street, fucking Haddonfield.
Yep.
There's cameos for like Kane Hodder is like going into the Elm Street house and like shit like that. It's like kind of funny. It's like I don't know. Zelda Rubinstein from Poltergeist
Is the librarian.
And she's fucking great.
Is it Robert Englund, the
Doc Halloran character?
What do they call him?
The good guy, but they call him
something from Moby Dick. What is it? Ahab.
Ahab.
He's got an Ahab.
Just all the lingo is so great. God damn it.
Leslie's really fucking funny.
He
Like
is.
at
Cute.
first, I will say it kind of, for me at least, it wore off a little bit. But at least the first 25, 30 minutes, like I was laughing at a lot at Leslie, and it
Big Jim
fell
Carrey
flat
vibes.
after a little bit. I don't know if that was just me. Like the whole movie definitely didn't fall flat, but I got kind of his humor after a while. I was kind of like, yeah, whatever.
I don't know. He's just very charismatic. He's got this little soul patch.
Dude, it's a smart movie.
You know,
though.
funny.
it's just everything about he's committed to the part and he's believable.
He's
even
like,
though
you won't
it's an
believe how much
insane
work we have to
thing,
put
you
into
know?
this, and just like things like that. Where
And he's
it's
like,
just,
you don't
night.
get it. You have to like come to it yourself. Like I can't just tell you about it.
it's really cute in a weird way. It's like endearing, and I love Leslie Vernon. And then it ends up being like a decent slasher with like the proper type of twist and like everything that you've already been explained in like a meta self-referential way before it even happens, and like you knew what it was going to be before you pushed play.
Yeah.
But it's still good.
Yep.
And the horror a lot of times is often that sometimes you swing for fences and you miss. Sometimes you get these art house movies that just don't land. But a lot of times, if you just stick to the basic formula for like a slasher movie or a creature feature or ghost story, you can add your own flavor. But if you stick to the bare bones and like don't reveal the monster too early, a lot of times it's like, yeah, that wasn't a bad flick. And I don't know. This kind of references all of that while being fresh, even though it's fresh despite it's just a collection of borrowed parts.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And one of my favorite, I don't know if calling it an ongoing bit, I don't know if I'd even call it that, but I giggled every time that they would say Survivor Girl instead of Final Girl, because obviously they talk about the Final Girl trope a lot, and just say Survivor, and I thought that was really funny. But like Mykel said, this movie is really endearing, and it's one that like you root for the antagonist, you root for the serial killer. Like by the end of the movie, I wanted him to have his night go exactly how he wanted it to go, and it does.
But that's Jason, that's Freddy, that's Michael. After like a couple of sequels, it's like, who cares who everybody else
teenagers.
is? Yeah, maybe Michael's not the best example because Laurie Strode is hard. But by the time you get to like 3, 4, 5, I guess Michael's not in 3. Anyway, you get the point. Like by the time you get there, it's like kind of the face of the franchise is always the antagonist.
Yeah, but it's more of like an emotional connection. It's like, oh, like I know who he is as a
because
person,
you're
and I want
you
the
want him to
mask.
succeed.
Yeah, so I'm saying like you watch it, like if you watch the very first.
Where to the mask are you?
The bunkhouse.
Yep, bunkhouse.
No matter what they say.
And this is my fault, I guess, but I was under the impression that this movie was fucking gory. Like I was expecting something in a very similar vein of Hatchet.
Yeah, you said
which
that
we
last
have
time, and
watched.
I was like, this is not
So
like that at
I
all.
was I was a little bit let down when we got to the gore because, I mean, it's not bad, but a lot of it's off screen and there are some good kills, but I was expecting like hatchet level, just like people getting fucking ripped in half with a huge chainsaw on
Right.
screen. Like,
Yeah.
and I don't know why.
Let's
There's
be
n-
real.
Yeah, I
about
don't know
it.
why either. Actually,
Let's be real about something now. Hatchet, we all watched it together. We've all watched them all together, but like super underappreciated when it comes to terms of like on-screen fucking kills. Like that's
Hatchet's
a high
fucking
bar
awesome.
to fucking reach, dude. That's like
It is. I could understand if like you didn't know much about this movie and your friend told you it was on effed up movies and it was like really fucked up and you watched it for like 2 hours and 40 minutes and it was just like boring. But
if you thought it was gonna be
Yeah.
effed up for a reason, like it was on a website called effed
effed up
up.
movies.
I know, what the fuck? Effed up moderators, are you listening? Thank you for putting that movie up. I'm glad I watched it.
I get that though. Like just thinking of like a
It's just like a
slasher parody film. Like, oh, this is gonna be like gory as fuck. Like,
Well, I knew of this movie.
oh, you did.
Yeah.
But
like
you
I
didn't
knew
'cause
the
you thought it was
cover.
gory.
Yeah, but I don't know why, and that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like, it's my fault. Like, I don't know why I had these preconceived notions. I was like, oh yeah, behind the mask, there's a lot of gore in this. Like, this is gonna be fucking tight. And like, I still enjoyed the movie. It was interesting and funny and fresh and different. But
And like for us.
Yeah.
And
You know what
for
I mean?
us,
It's like
yeah.
there's a lot of things that I laughed at to myself that I was just like, fuck. That's only because I've watched hundreds of hours
Oh,
of
yeah.
documentaries on horror films, and let alone like the hundreds of horror movies I've watched this past couple of years. Like fuck. But like
Yeah.
this was a lot of fun. It's one that I would watch again, periodically check back into, because it's kind of like I don't know. It was my first watch, but it almost feels like comfort food. It's like super digestible, and because almost like everything's borrowed, it's almost like watching an episode of Seinfeld, where like every bit is so compartmentalized. Like you can look up and watch it for 5 to 10 minutes and be like, that was good, and then move on. Like you almost don't
You know
need
the
it
story.
all to be
You know the
one
story.
piece.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and there's something good about that, but there's also a bit about that that's like it gets old. I don't think it would ever be at the top of my watch list, and I would recommend it to a very select few people. Most of them are in this room.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's like a pretty good horror comedy. I like recommend this to people if it was easily found on a stream service. But it's like Tucker and Dale. So I don't know if you liked that, you'd probably enjoy this.
Yes, and while Tucker and Dale has similar things, I think that you get more out of this if you're more of a horror movie fan, and not just a horror movie fan. Because like if you're Tucker and Dale or like Cabin in the Woods, you benefit from being a horror movie fan. This, you really benefit from being like a horror movie nerd.
yeah.
Like if you know trivia and names and cameos and music and directors and years and dates and locations and shit, like this is going to definitely tickle you.
Yeah.
Sure. But it's still like, I think even
Oh,
without
it's still
that,
good,
it's
yeah.
a fun flick. Like even if you're only like very vaguely familiar with slasher genre. Like if you know what a Final Girl is, which there's like a TV show, wasn't there like a TV show called
TV
Final
shows,
Girl?
documentaries,
Like,
yeah.
people are
Yeah.
familiar, right? Like if you're familiar with that and you've seen like a few Halloween or Friday the 13th movies, like this is good.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think also you got to come around to the thought process that this came out in 2007. So target generation also would have been kids at the height of the slasher craze. So that arguably that audience would have been more familiar with like the references, even if they were just casual viewers, because it was very posh at the time to be into slashers. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
like, even if you weren't in the disco, if you were there, you probably
You heard
recognize
it.
some of the names and know
Yeah.
songs.
Groovy.
I liked it. You guys want to give it a little quick round rating, unless there's anything else you want to say? I know that
Yeah, let's
this
go ahead
one
and read it real
was
quick. Yeah, we do have to go.
getting funded. Like it's an independent movie, and they've been trying to get the sequel funded from like a GoFundMe or an Indiegogo for like a decade. It's kind of been in developmental hell, and I think they've kind of given up on it a little bit. But that was like a rumor for a while, so who knows if there's gonna be another Leslie Vernon movie. That's what I'll say to end it.
Right on. What do you rate it?
I'll tell you what I fucking rate it, pal. I gave this one. Yeah, I gave this one 78. I actually really liked it.
Wow. Right on. What about you?
75.
75?
75.
Damn, I guess I'm the low blow. I gave this a 66.
Oh.
It's not bad. So.
No, I did not dislike this movie.
But you know,
and like I
though,
said,
too.
I went in with an idea of what it was going to be, and it wasn't that. And that is absolutely not the movie's fault.
Right.
I would recommend. Don't think I would watch this again, but I would. I would recommend it to people. Like I don't meet new people often on purpose, but like if I do, and horror comes up, and it's like I'm not really into horror. Like this could be one that I would throw out. Be like, oh, because you don't like we already covered. You don't need to be like a nerd to get like everything. If you just know the premise of Halloween and Friday the 13th, and who Jason is and stuff, like you're good. Like you'll get most of the jokes. But
I don't know. I might recommend a couple horror comedies before this one, and I think that the person I recommend this one to, they would have to be, or like they would more likely be a really big horror nerd, just because I feel like that's where this movie really shines, and that's also maybe why I gave it the highest rating, because like, you know me, I'm a sucker for trivia in general, and like just a voracious appetite for media, but horror is my shtick, and so like if you can throw in some references, like I just fucking love film that jacks itself off, and for the sake of like its own genre merits, you know what I mean? And this did that in a way that was fun but creative. It wasn't just like ham-fisted self-reference. It was like, shit, dude, how much time did you spend writing this movie? This was fucking smart.
It's fucking smart, man. Do you guys want to go to the broom making demonstration here in Salem, or?
I don't know. Is that free?
Is it still going on?
It's like in 45 minutes. It's at 2.
No, we're probably not going to be done.
Depends when we finish this.
I don't know how long it goes.
Maybe we'll see him go by.
You have like the mobile. I mean, we're mobile, right?
Yeah. I've got the
van.
van.
Within Wi-Fi range.
Whoa, the van. No, the Segway. Do you have the Segway?
I've got the Segway. I said van. The Turkish van.
Turkish van. He's super cute. His name is Tony 2. We love him.
We've got a Segway
Tony
with
2.
a Turkish van. We're cruising around Salem with Tony 2.
Carmela, Tony 2. He's just adorable. He has all his teeth still, which kind of an improvement on the original.
Okay,
you hear that, Tony, you little fucker?
Easy.
All right.
Easy.
I'm just saying. I mean, if you guys want to do that, or go to like the pickling, there's also like I think like a threading or a wovery.
I don't think that's the way. No, it's the Wizards of Waverly Palace. It's not.
no, that's a Disney. No, what is it? What they make cloth? What is that called?
Disney.
Looming.
Textile.
Loomers?
Yeah, looming.
Textiles.
Yeah. Textile. You know, like any sort of textiles. Is that what you're talking about? Just like different fabrics and.
Yeah, just watching them like form from the wool.
Yeah, dyed in the wool. Okay, so we don't have time to get to all these if we're going to
textiles.
talk all fucking night about this shit. So I guess I'll jump into my next pick, which was...
I mean, like, why even go to Salem if we're just like not going to do anything fun? We could just sit on the couch.
We're doing a podcast.
Okay.
We'll make it. We'll finish it in time.
All right.
We'll
Okay,
go to the
okay,
broom
I'm sorry.
demonstration.
Let's take another 10 minutes to talk about it. See how fucking fast we get anywhere.
The next movie was Mykel's foreign pick. What was it?
The Loved Ones. This is a film from 2009. It's an Australian film. Been meaning to watch it for some time. Picked it for this pod. Not disappointed. I'm already going to tell you right now, I like this movie more than the other two. I don't think they disliked it strongly. Maybe they did. But I really liked this movie. I didn't know what the fuck it was about. And so it was like gorier than I expected. It was shorter than I expected. It had fucking weird like creature feature shit going on that I didn't expect. It's kind of like Saw meets Carrie in 2000s meets
Funny people.
Funny Games.
Funny games, yeah.
Maybe a little bit. Yeah, it means funny people.
I was like, Adam Sandler is sick with cancer.
No, but yeah. So yeah, and all of that in a way it manages to be a little bit more lighthearted, even though it's like not. It's like kind of fucked up. The girl plays a really good psycho, and like there's some really funny fucking lines that are like 1 second funny and then also like equally terrifying, which I love. Like any of that, like, is it finger looking good? Like, I love that. And then she's like, I'm gonna stab your mom in the neck like you stabbed my dad, and then I'm gonna stab you in the heart like
Holly
you
in the
stabbed me.
heart,
Or
like
yeah,
you stabbed me.
I was like, oh fuck. Like, some of these are like, even if they were corny, they were like good, and they're like that teen melodrama. They have that like Dawson's Creek. Okay, so I feel like it almost like a callback to
CW
like
kind of thing.
yes, like Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer. It's like the 90s slasher vibes, which had a lot of like, they were actually written by the guy who wrote fucking Dawson's Creek. I don't know if you know that. Like, fucking I Know What You Did Last Summer is written by the guy who wrote Dawson's Creek. But it's a lot of that type of shit.
Like, you know,
see
teenagers
and the same faces and all that shit. Yeah.
I'm gonna say right now that like this is not a perfect movie, and there are other movies in this week that I liked a lot, but this is my favorite movie of the week.
What?
Mostly because
I thought you didn't like this movie that much.
No, I actually did. Like, I don't know. Did I say that?
I thought because I fell asleep because I watched this. Oh, I watched this earlier. Well, I already saw it. This was like the third movie you watched that day because you hadn't fucking watched movies. Surprise. So anyway, I had woken up and you were like, well, that was a movie. I mean, it was good. And like, I get it. You saved it for the pod, but you were doing a good job of leaving me with the impression that like it's flawed, which it is, but to the point where your enjoyment was affected.
I'm definitely surprised that this is your favorite movie of the week.
This is not Scream Rob movie to me.
It doesn't. This is my second favorite movie of the week, and I feel like if you guys had to guess, you would probably guess it was my favorite.
I would have guessed it was your favorite, but I also talked to you earlier this week and got the impression that you didn't fucking love it because you're like, oh, I've seen this twice, and I remember that I didn't, because you had forgotten that you'd seen it or whatever, right?
Yeah, I have a weird story with this movie, which for whatever reason my brain doesn't like the association between this movie and the title. And what I mean by that is I keep seeing this title and not knowing what it is and keep putting it on and then realizing that I've watched this movie already. And I know that sounds absolutely insane. And Rob's letting me know with some hand symbols. But yes, I have seen this movie. And
recently, or how did you hear about it? Why did you see it? Do you know?
I saw it for the first time within the last year, and it was because I was browsing effed up movies in the torture category. Okay. And the cover of this movie is a girl in a dress pointing a drill towards a movie, and I'm on effed up movies in the torture category. So I'm like, yeah, this sounds interesting. It's Australian. You don't see a lot. I at least don't know of a lot of horror movies coming from Australia.
It's a handful, but there's not a ton, honestly.
Right. So to see this that's like supposed to be fucked up, I was interested and I watched it and I enjoyed it. It wasn't as a shocker. It wasn't as fucked up as I wanted it to be, but this has good fucking gore in it. And if you're not expecting it, that first knife getting nailed into his foot is gonna be like, oh shit! Like, I didn't expect that kind of movie.
I didn't know that it was coming, and so when I didn't even know it was going to be like a fucked up movie or a gore movie or anything like that. I just had been on my list, and somebody's like, check it out, so I put it on, and I was like, okay, cool, whatever. And when that comes, it's like you said, especially if you're not expecting it, there's a moment as a viewer, especially when you watch the films that we watch, where you're like, oh, okay, we're doing shit like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm really fucking glad for that, because that's the best way to experience those types of movies where it just like kind of comes out of nowhere, especially when the lead up is there are some humor, but also I like the beginning of this movie. The beginning of this movie is also very dark. I mean, it starts out with a boy driving with his father, and he sees a bloodied up man in the road, and he swerves out of the way to not hit him and gets in a car accident, and his father is killed. And that is seen quick, and we see him as a teenager in high school, and you know, he's depressed. He has friends and he has a girlfriend, but he likes to be by himself a lot. His mom is a wreck. He kind of
guilt
seems
and
like he's
everything,
not
yeah.
doing all right. He's guilted by his mom. He likes to be alone and just like smoke weed and listen to music. And he, honestly, I think the most beautiful moment in this film is he starts climbing up this rock wall thing, and it's kind of goofy at first. He's so like emo and sad. He's like free climbing. That's like kind of silly. And then he gets to a point where he almost slips and falls, and you just see him go from a point of fear to like euphoria, where he realizes that if he just lets go, he would most likely be killed. And there's this, honestly, it's a pretty long pause of him in this euphoric state trying to decide if he should end his life or not, and he decides not to, and moments away is chloroformed and lifted away at this moment by an unidentified person, which is
The father.
Milady's father.
Yeah, and before this scene, he is like getting out of school, and is asked to prom by
Yes, this is very important.
Lola
Yeah.
Stone, who's like a very awkward, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, I've already been asked."
He's polite.
He's polite.
not only
nice
polite,
about it.
he's like genuinely sweet, and like he feels bad. Like this
He's
guy
sad
is
boy,
like
empathetic. I feel that.
yes, and he's not like one of the classic shitty characters in a fucking horror movie that you're like kind of glad they're getting tortured and like
But
he's
he's not deserving of
with
it.
this girl that he's gonna go with, and like you kind of get the impression that they've been dating, and like maybe people know that. And then this new girl, Lola, asks him, and he looks at her, and he's just like, you see, he acts it really well in the scene. You can tell that he knows what he's gonna say is probably gonna, at the very least, discourage her, but probably hurt her
feelings. Yeah.
and he doesn't want to do it, but he's honest with her. And like honestly, Lola's fucking crazy.
Yep.
But so is Dad.
Like you can't really even feel bad for her because you don't know if she
Right.
was bullied. You don't know, like you can assume a lot, but like this movie is unsympathetic. They don't make you feel bad that the guy is getting tortured, or they make you feel bad that the guy's getting tortured because they don't make him a prick, and then they don't give the antagonist any redeeming characteristics either.
Yeah. Which is good.
He meets up with his lady Holly. They
Yep.
fuck, and Lola is like watching,
In the parking lot. There's lots of high school parking lot fucking in this movie.
And then he is abducted by her father.
Yeah.
And then it's just kind of like a lot of just like fucked up games that like you don't know the rules to, and it doesn't matter because you're gonna lose anyway because that's how this goes.
Kind of fucking so
It's
hot.
it's a captive torture flick from the rest out, and it turns out that the arc is crazy dad and daughter, and they're recreating prom, and there is also a lady there that's referred to as Bright Eyes, which is the mother, and she is just in this catatonic state, which we learn about later when like the drill gets
Kind of like a Dahmer-esque.
pulled
She's
out.
been lobotomized. They're like a makeshift lobotomy.
It's definitely I don't know if this is the right way to say this, a nod to Dahmer. Like
Dahmer-esque.
that sounds fucked
Yeah.
up, but
That's not even a nod to Dahmer. Like Dahmer
It's
was
explicit.
doing like a fucking legitimate.
well, yeah.
Not like he's not a medical doctor, but
that's
I mean
true.
that
He
shit
was trying to perform a home lobotomy.
But that's also like that fucking transorbital lobotomy is pretty much just straight fucking up. That it was like really
ice
popular
pick.
in the 50s
Yeah.
and 60s. It's like fucking insane.
Yeah, for sure. I mean more so as in like a way to control people that you are romantically attracted to doesn't feel the
Right.
same. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But there's like a whole process to it. She's like, there's
Yeah.
like, you're the first one I'm gonna drill, and like you have to, there's like stages that are distinct and have been developed and are like part of this, like the ritual.
Yeah, you learn pretty early on that this is not their first rodeo. This is not
Rodeo.
this is not a random kill. Like this has happened before. They know what they're doing. And that's revealed in a great scene, which is why Mykel referred to it as a creature feature. If you wanna touch on that, because I know you like that.
I just had no idea about this film at all. Unknown writer, unknown director, unknown cast. didn't know what it was about. Started watching it, got better gore than I was hoping for or even like could expect. And the music is good and the characters are good.
The music is good, yeah.
And they're doing this shit where like I'm always unsatisfied in horror movies, but they honestly were nailing it. They had this perfect balance between like the tension. Okay, so the drill scene. Let's just talk about the drill scene real quick, and I'm going to get to your point. But she pulls out the drill and she like struggles to get it going right away, and then she gets it on, and it's like the sound like, and then it's like
smoke,
and the coming in to him. It's like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's like. Sometimes that can be too long, and sometimes it can be too short. And like this was almost perfect, but then even when it's perfect, they always fuck it up because then it's shaky cam to pull away, no gore, or like focus on something that's something else, or like you do the classic Tarantino Res Dogs fake out, which is good, but I'm tired of seeing it all the time. Like, you know what I mean? And this had the perfect balance of like the tension of leading up to it.
Showing
the showing the effects of the violence and actually like the like holding it just long enough that makes you like almost want to turn away, and then the camera pulls, and so you didn't see that much. It's like the Texas Chainsaw thing where you are filling in the blanks, but it's like you see the 1 or 2 spirals of skin around the drill bit before it cuts away, and you're like, oh shit.
And a lot of that is like Romero-esque, like Uchiha with those really long shots of a drill sometimes going towards an eyeball.
Yeah, like a POV.
And the whole time you're like, is it going to hit it? Is it going to hit it? Even though if you've seen any George A. Romero films, you're like, yeah, we're going to see this.
Yeah.
You're still not sure, and it holds you there just long enough where you're like, oh my god, it's been going on for so long, maybe they're not going to show it this time, but then you see it every time.
Yeah, so it's had
but it's still good.
90s slasher vibes for me. It did have like Carrie themes and Saw torture porn, but also I like what you're saying about like the George A. Romero or even like Mario Bava or Fulci, like
just
anybody like that kind of like I don't know, that was done well. And then let's pull the carpet back and open up a fucking hatch in the floor. And we're going to cut this possum up and throw it down in the fucking floorboards.
There's fucking zombies down there or something.
Like lobotomized.
They're ghouls. They're ghouls.
Yes.
They eat dead corpses, and they're like
afraid of light.
Yeah, bleached and afraid of light, and they have holes in their heads. They're ghouls.
It's sick.
I don't believe in ghosts. I do believe in ghouls.
One of my favorite things about this, just because we got 5 other movies to review,
he kills them all.
When he gets thrown down there and he fucking kills them all, then he stacks the bodies up and climbs. I love that. I love it's like finally be fucking creative and like have some ingenuity to get the fuck out of there.
His head has been drilled and drilled again to open it up. His feet have been stabbed. Like
he's been carved
up.
Realistically, he shouldn't be up.
Like a carve of beef.
Well, yeah, he's a little carve of beef, but he's on drugs
salted.
too. He's on. Oh my god, that
and
was
salted.
so good. That was so good, and it's so simple, but it was so good.
Because you know that shit fucking hurts.
Even
though most people, like, who can say they've had a huge gash on their stomach and then salt thrown in it?
No, but have you ever had a little cut on your fucking finger and gotten salt in it?
Yes.
Yeah, that shit fucking sucks.
That's what I'm saying. It's a good wound that is good at making people like kind of cringe because you can.
It's relatable.
Because you can imagine it because it's the bigger scale of wounds that do happen. Like you just said, like you cut yourself cooking and you patch it up and you keep cooking, but then you don't pay attention and you cut a lemon or a lime or you get salt in it. You know what I mean? And it fucking hurts. And yeah, he gets carved up good. Knives in the feet are fucking good.
Sick.
Drill to the head.
I will say that though, when the carpet gets pulled back and when the door gets open, that's when I was kind of like, ugh. And I mean, you guys know me. Like, I want it to just be the torture, just like fucking. Like, I would have much preferred them to pull that back and it's just a bunch of dead bodies than a bunch of successfully lobotomized people that also eat people. It's just not what I wanted.
Yeah, fair.
But
I was there for
I
it.
didn't hate it. It obviously didn't ruin it. I like this movie. I would recommend this movie, not to a lot of people, because it does have.
It's pretty fucking
It's pretty
ruckus,
it's
dude.
pretty fucked up for as far as average horror movies going. What did we watch this on? What is this on? Shout out.
Tubi?
Tubi.
Probably.
No, fucking Pluto.
Pluto.
Oh my god, is that the one with the horrible
Pluto.
fucking ads?
Fucking
And not only the
Pluto.
bad
One of them is so
ads,
much
but
worse.
like it's got such a bad interface, and it, like, you know, we shouldn't
Just
talk shit because it's
laggy.
free, but like
Honestly, it's,
fuck,
it's
not
laggier
good.
than that 2-horse carriage
Jesus
over there going
Christ.
down to the candle shop.
Peacock is fast for free. Tubi is fast for free.
I know.
And it's got decent interface. Like Pluto's not like
It's
Even,
garbage.
even Plex is better.
It's okay, Pluto. We still use you, and like we're still contributing to your ads.
Because we won't pay for anything.
We'll pay for
Not at this butcher's, not at that baker's, not over there at the candlestick makers.
No, I fucking dude. Remember that movie that we watched that was about that?
Butcher, baker, nightmare maker?
Yeah,
Yeah, that was good.
I do remember that.
We watched
we've watched
it
it twice.
We've watched it twice.
Did you say twice?
No, we didn't.
So do you guys want to rate this one and move on?
Yeah.
So this one is actually my third highest rated movie of the week.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I gave it an 84. I actually gave out some high ratings this week. This
Holy
was a good
fuck.
week.
Yeah, I gave this an 82.
This is a good
Oh my
week.
god, you guys are in the 80s. Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
74.
Good.
I like this movie.
It's a good movie.
And it's like the
Good.
same fucking shit as the last one, where it's just my fucking fault.
It's also that movie I thought had Aubrey Plaza in it. And I was like, oh, no, that's just...
I think I've kind of
Not her.
thought that too, actually, because it looks like
What
it.
movie are you thinking of?
No, it's not. It's
I don't
that
know.
She
just
kind
kinda
of looks like it.
Aubrey
Oh,
Plaza on
okay,
the
the
cover,
movie
but
doesn't
not
exist.
really.
Yeah. The movie
Okay.
doesn't exist.
But you know what does exist? A
Mm.
movie that is 100 years old. That was Bill's vampire pick. Bill, take it away.
I'll take it away. This is my pick, and
100
I
years.
think I surprised you guys at least a little bit by picking this, because this is... I would normally not pick a movie 100 years old, and that even sounds like we're over-exaggerating. We're not. I picked 1922's Nosferatu. But this has been on my list for a while because, I mean, Mykel talks about it. It's referenced a lot. I mean, it's like the original vampire movie. I watch a lot of vampire movies. I still don't know why. But one of the reasons why I wanted to pick it, I mean, this is my vampire pick, and it's like, well, I know every other vampire movie in existence is either been picked or we've watched already, so, like, let's go back to the beginning. So I did, and I watched this with Rob.
Yeah. It's fun.
Which was a good time, and I did enjoy this. And oh my god, it honestly, and might be a shock too, it made me want to rewatch The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, because I was like, damn, I know this
Very
is
similar.
what that movie was supposed to look like for us.
Yep.
But again, I watched the untouched version. Come on, Elmers, you know. If you've been listening, you know.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah.
Bill's an originalist.
I was
He
like,
will only
holy
watch-
shit, there's colors, and I can tell the characters apart.
Yeah, it's wild, right?
But you've seen this before, right?
Oh, well,
How multiple times?
I've honestly probably watched this movie a dozen times.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
When was the last time you think?
Oh,
Relatively
a couple days
recently?
ago.
No, well, like
Besides this time.
the last time I watched this movie before I watched it for the pod this week, about fucking 9 weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah. It was on the last drive-in this year.
Okay.
Right on.
I actually
remember
had
it.
kind of seen most of this film too.
Because it was on
Nice-
the
nice
last drive-in,
drive-in.
because I told you about that. And then the second
what
movie
week
that
was
night
this?
was You were in you were on vacation. That's why you didn't get to watch it.
Oh, okay.
And that was the
I
night
in
that
Florida?
Herzog, yes, you were in Florida,
Yeah,
and
no,
Herzog's
that was,
Nosferatu, the vampire, was the second
Which
movie
is my
that
bad.
night.
Oh, okay.
So now that you've watched this one, I know that another one that you've been meaning to watch is the Herzog.
Yes.
And then also, I know that you love Eggers, and so we will be watching
Yes.
Eggers Nosferatu when it comes out. So it's like, fuck, man, I know you're not necessarily trying to take another vampire movie all the time, but like this one it did make sense that you would pick it. Not only because you're a horror fan and because it's like required watching, but it's kind of topical, you know.
Yeah.
Like we've been talking about the Herzog movie a lot this year because I watched it for the first time this year and it was great.
And now I want to watch it as well.
Yeah, and also we've done Bram Stoker's Dracula. We've been talking about you see all these tropes, you see them happen here. If you listen to the other podcast episodes, you've heard us talk like, oh, all these iconic scenes, whether they're in the movies or books, and you're like, I don't know this. I didn't read the books. I haven't seen these movies. Well, now you're starting to see it, and then you're going to watch another one. And then even later this month, we have a movie about the making of this movie.
We do?
Yeah. It's called Shadow the Vampire.
Oh, okay. That's what that's about?
The William Dafoe.
It's about the shooting of this film.
Eddie Izzard.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the one with Eddie Izzard.
Yeah. And
Right
I kept mistaking
I didn't realize that's what that movie's about.
Eddie Izzard is in it, but John Malkovich plays F.W. Murnau, the director.
And then Willem Dafoe plays Max Schreck.
Max Schreck.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's
good.
Yeah.
And I'd actually forgotten this film is mostly takes place on the boat.
Well, I wouldn't say mostly, but there's a lot of it.
Like a large part. Yeah, maybe not mostly, but like a good portion of it, right?
Yeah.
Lots of
which is
stuff.
a very small portion of the book.
No.
Yeah, but
they weren't adapting the book; they were creating an original story, and that was like their whole thing.
Then we're not ripping off Dracula. Please don't sue us.
Exactly, and there's a whole lot of shit that you can read that we're not going to go into about that because it's a century-year-old conversation.
But if Eggers doesn't cast Mykel Cera as the lead, he's losing his mind.
I don't know about all of that.
I don't know about that.
He looks like Mykel Cera. That's all I'm saying.
Oh,
he
yeah,
doesn't
you did
exist.
mention that.
He doesn't exist because it doesn't matter because it's a book. But I guess he's doing Nosferatu. I guess he's... I don't know. That's interesting. I'll think more about that. I don't hate that.
There was...
Right?
I don't hate that.
He looks like him. He wouldn't be bad.
There were some bad-ass title cards that were like, damn, that's
metal
like some black metal lyrics.
Is that tattooed on your back in giant
Yes.
Dude, in 1922. Do you guys understand that, like, there's the whole part about this that's terrifying that movies even exist? Like pictures?
Like movie pictures are scary.
Yeah, no, we definitely talk.
They're demonic and scary.
Yeah,
we talked about that. We're like, oh, this is like
dying watching
this is the
this
scariest
movie.
film ever made at this point. This is terrifying.
Yes.
Like, this shit
People
didn't
are like
exist 20 years ago.
pissing themselves in the fucking theater. They're scared out of their fucking minds. Oh my god!
And that's awesome.
It's pretty
It's cool
fucking
to think
crazy.
about. It's really cool to think about.
It's like the kind of ridiculousness of like having barf bags and like the 70s grindhouse kind of stuff.
Right.
Except legitimately people were fainting and flipping their
Vomiting.
minds. And
When
like,
he fucking raises up his shit.
Yes. It's like lists, like Flistomania or something like that. It's just insanity. So like big props, Bill, for picking this film. I kind of watched it but didn't really, and then finally sat down and watched it with you, and it was a lot of fun.
I thought you meant when we did watch it.
We also consumed like a large amount of cannabis extracts and ate some really good curry that I don't know who made that, but they're really good.
I think
chef.
you did.
Oh,
thanks again.
Yeah,
you are a good chef. But
Cook.
yes, this was.
Stay humble.
This was good. I did enjoy this. If I watched this alone in my room, I probably would have enjoyed it less.
I was going to say it, but I didn't want to.
I mean, yeah. It goes for most if I'm alone in my room. Watching a movie.
Or over at the 13th Elm studio watching a movie with your buds.
Ooh.
Why do you think I put this blanket over me during...
Blanket optional.
What was I saying? Oh, yeah. If I watched this alone, it probably would not have enjoyed it as much, but there is definitely, obviously it's 100 years old, there's going to be some unintentional humor to us. Like, something I still have in my mind is just the image of him running around the town with the coffin under his arm.
That was really funny. It just like it was like sped up, so it looked like him speed walking with a huge coffin full of dirt under his arm, which was really funny. And then stacking them up and then getting inside and then like telekinesing it.
Yeah, telekinesing.
Telekinetically moving it.
Telekinesing.
Telekinesing moving it.
Yeah. It's good. How good is Max Schreck in this, though? He
Max
looks like a
Schreck.
Who did he
fucking
play?
praying mantis.
God, is Count Orlok. He's
Count
alien
Orlok.
and scary
Oh,
and
yeah.
fucked up.
Yeah, fucking awesome.
His fucking scary fucking teeth, mosquito bite motherfucker.
His hands, he's
He was
all gaunt.
He was
Oh,
fucking
hell,
creepy.
this, I like
His finger
this.
shit
This?
is great. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything fingers near
This?
the face.
Yeah. Any
Anything
sort
like
of
this?
hand stuff. He's good with his fucking hands. He's good with his mouth, like his eyes, all of that stuff. Like the way he looked, the way he moved. He was like a little insect. Like he was like grinding his little fucking legs together and moving his hands like he was preparing a meal or a web. He's fucking completely otherworldly and like
Predatory.
absolutely disgusting.
He was.
Yeah.
He did.
He's
he
a
was great.
fucking
Gross
Ugh.
thing.
yeah.
I love it. Good pick, and held up pretty well given its age and everything else. So
What do you got to say about it, Bill? I know you got some things to say
Yeah.
over there since.
sweet Bill.
it's your pick.
No, I mean, like I said, I enjoyed this. It was cool after seeing this story told so many times. It was cool seeing it told for the first time. Am I correct? Like besides the book.
The book.
So I mean, I definitely appreciate that, and Shrek's performance was, I mean, he looked fucking insane. Like he was creepy. I can't imagine watching that in 1922. It's still creepy in 2022.
Shout out to Shrek. Max Shrek, if you're listening to us right now, just want to say your performance was amazing.
I don't think he
and
speaks
I
English.
hope you
He might not understand.
are doing okay because you're old.
You're probably 150 years old at this point.
100 and sexy.
100 and sexy at
It's
least.
sexy.
Um,
What'd you rate it?
I rated it a 65, which I know is a D, but I mean this is Bill giving a 100-year-old movie a 65. Like that's pretty good.
It's like way closer to what maybe your Caligari score should have been
Yeah.
if all things were fair and you would have watched the more
Caligari-
clear version.
Yeah, Caligari probably would have gotten something high 50, low 60. I think I gave it a 3 out of 100 because it
6,
because
I
it looked like ink blots
I
being
think
smashed
that-
together.
I personally
Which
think
is
that
my
you
fault
would
again.
you would enjoy this movie more than Caligari, but you
Oh,
would
I
enjoy
agree.
Caligari more than you did.
Absolutely, yeah. I know this is more about being like, wow, this is a good story. This is creepy. Caligari is like, wow, look at the set and the camera work. They did that for the first time, and it's actually incredible that they thought of that. But what did you guys rate this?
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not gonna watch this again. I'm not gonna recommend this to people that aren't big horror nerds.
Anybody that you would
So,
recommend it to
is in
has
this
seen
room.
Has
it.
seen it.
Yeah.
That's it's a
So,
good point.
Probably like a 40.
Wow, that's
A
insane.
40?
40, like 40, 45. I'm not gonna pretend otherwise. It doesn't do much for me. Like it's interesting in a historical perspective. It's cool. It's a vampire film. It's like one of the first. It's one of the first films. It's like one of the first horror films. It might be the first horror film. I don't know enough of the specifics and all that to speak on that. But the title cards, the music, yeah, it's like creepy.
Yeah.
But it's more of a film study for me than it is like an enjoyable this is a good film. Watch this movie.
Yeah, no, that's
So-
fair. And I feel like I even put it on a little bit of a weighted scale. I would also never watch this again.
I would honestly say watch this if you're a horror person because you're listening to our dumbass podcast. But Caligari, I think, is a better movie, and I don't know what I rated that, but I know I wasn't kind to that film either, and I think that's
You actually changed your whole metric after that movie.
I think that's true. It broke me, but that's a better film, I think.
It's better film. I still stick by the sentence or the statement that I think Bill would prefer this film just because it has more horror and
elements,
gothic
yeah.
elements. Caligari is not only a little bit more innovative and original, it comes a little bit earlier and it's a little more creative.
The mutton guy's coming by. Do you want mutton?
I'm actually quite full.
No,
Well,
we're good.
Well, we had the ham pies that are still at the hotel that we
That's
haven't
right,
eaten
mince,
either.
mince meats.
Airbnb or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know.
No, I think you're right. Yeah, Bill probably would appreciate it more, but
This movie is requisite watching. It's something that I recommend to anybody who would say that they're this is a weird thing, who is like serious about their like horror fandom, regardless of whether or not they're gonna enjoy it. I'm gonna tell them that they need to watch it.
Yeah,
And,
it's like a gatekeeping film. You're like, oh, you're a horror fan, you haven't seen Nosferatu? Fuck it, get out of here.
kind of, yeah.
Kinda.
But also like, you guys
I
have
just
seen
watched
it
it
now,
for the first time,
and,
yeah.
like,
So
you're better for it because it and it is the headwaters of a lot of major pathways along the horror fucking route, and I don't know, it's a really important movie. It's really impressive. It holds up. The story is a story that's been told a bunch, and it's been told better, honestly.
So would you give it like a 78?
Nah, I gave it an 85. This
Yeah.
is requisite. This is like, you have to watch this, man. This was gonna
Fair.
be. This is the best movie that I had seen up to this point this
ever?
month, for this year. But I had seen it before. I knew it was gonna be hard to beat. It's personally not my favorite silent movie. It's not like my all-time favorite movie, but it's just unfuckwittable. It's not even top 5 hit silent movies. You guys are gonna be fucking laughing over there for that.
I didn't say anything.
I'm just laughing at Rob's face. His expressions are good. So there you have it. Nosferatu. Next up was Rob's pick.
Oh, Blade 2.
Yeah, Blade 2.
The most requested follow-up episode in the history of 13th and Elm.
You asked, we listened.
I mean, possibly even profitable. We'll see.
The
People wanna
Elmers have
know.
wanted this.
They want to know what we think about Blade. The Blade 1, Blade 2, Blade 3. You know, the Blade trilogy.
Yeah, and we might even review some fucking video games if this one blows up the way the first one did.
I mean, we're going to give you what you want.
You guys asked for Blade. We gave it to you. You asked for Blade 2, and we were happier to do that one because it's got our boy GDT.
Guillermo del Toro.
You know I'm a big fan of that.
Ba-ba-ba-bow.
And they brought back Chris Christopherson as Whistler.
Yes.
Which was a smart move. You know, Guillermo del Toro
You know-
came in and started saying, like, I'm doing it this fucking way, and they pretty much let him do whatever the fuck they want, from flying ninjas
Which
to
was
resurrecting.
honestly smart and just wild at the same time.
He's done a handful of movies at this point. He's had some critical success, but, like, this was one of his first big budget movies in America.
If couriers were all like sexy latex wearing fucking Tom Clancy-esque vampire acrobatic whatever ninjas, I mean, wouldn't the world just be a better place?
I'll tell you what, I would be happier. Fuck.
Would it be worse?
It wouldn't be worse. This film has a lot of martial arts in it. It's maybe even more of a martial arts film than a vampire film, which is crazy because it's about vampires. Really, more than anything, it's a creature feature, which, if you hadn't seen this film, you might think, Rob, you're a fucking idiot. What do you mean? It's about vampires. Vampires aren't creatures. They're vampires. They're like their own subcategory. I'm like, no, actually, you don't get it. They've been mutated, and it's Guillermo del Toro, so they're like crazy fantasy piranha people that are actually drug addicts, and they have all sorts of weird morphology with like a human, or not human, like a bone cage around their hearts, and it's insane, and they're really just like bacteria or viruses that are powered by blood, and they don't even have like a will to live.
Yeah, they're like sick vampires. They're infected vampires, right?
Yeah.
Which I mean, compared to Blade, a lot of it is the same. A lot of it is just Wesley Snipes beating the shit out of crowds full of people and a bunch of guns just fucking popping off. What this movie does better is the storyline of the infected vampires. I think they had a name that I can't remember. The Reapers were such a better storyline than fucking Deacon Frost and the weird uncovered Egyptian, whatever the fuck that was
like
in Blade, that just made no sense,
the
really.
board of directors of vampires, and then like the blood god thing.
Yeah.
This is such a better story.
So definitely a better story, and it's just honestly it's just Blade on top of that better story, which isn't horrible.
It's like a lot better. This is like a case of like a sequel that's clearly like way better. It like just leans into what it was supposed to be, and it was never supposed to be a great movie.
Yeah,
but
it
it's
doesn't
fun.
try as hard.
It's a
No.
superhero movie,
But
right?
It's a
Bad.
superhero
It's a
movie.
superhero
It's an
movie.
action movie. It's a kung fu movie. It's a
comic
vampire
book.
movie. It's a comic book movie. And Guillermo del Toro is one of the only fucking guys I know who could have done that, and he did it. And the reason why it's better than Blade is because Blade didn't do that, and I don't even know that attempting it with the first Blade would have been wise, because it's so ambitious. It's almost miraculous that Guillermo del Toro was able to pull it off in a fashion that was not more messy than it was. Because I'm not saying this movie was perfect, and I'm not saying it wasn't even a little bit messy, but like, it's pretty digestible. With all the crazy shit you're going to put in this
Certainly.
movie to do what you want to do
It's
visually,
insane.
it works.
They have the guy made of like living marble who's like the vampire overlord that they just introduce, and then all of a sudden he's given lore dumps and shit.
You could get
Who
this if you're
cares?
12,
Doesn't matter.
though. You know what I mean?
Mascanos?
And yes, and also like fucking Wesley Snipes is sexy and a disciplined martial artist and looks good doing what he does well.
Yeah, that's
That's a big part
Fact.
of it. Like I know that like CGI has come a long way and stuff with other superhero films, but imagine if those lead actors and actresses were legitimate like martial artists.
no shit.
It would look so much better.
Because when Wesley Snipes is fucking doing shit in this movie, he looks like he would fuck you
Because
up.
he could
and
and
he would.
And I
Mhm.
want him to, and it's like a little seatbelt jacket.
With his little harness, fucking
Mm.
like
Buckle
bicycle
you
wear.
in.
Yeah, and, like bite me.
He's fucking handsome.
Yeah,
well, let's talk
buckle me
about
in and
things that
bite
are
me.
handsome in this movie. Hair. How
Hair.
about the haircut on your boy?
Mm.
Your fucking boy, Ron
Agree.
Perlman, coming in with that haircut that wraps around the back of his head.
I love Ron Perlman.
It's fucking
He's
I
so
was-
good.
Wow,
Did
he's in
not
every
know-
Guillermo del Toro movie.
I didn't know he was in this, and I was happy to see him, and I thought he played his part very well.
He did. All the like vampire SEAL Team 6 guys were really fun. Just
Yeah, it was a
Personality.
fun layer. They're like, let's get some more real ass vampires up in this bitch.
Well, this was a good one for the week because we had such a diverse palette of movies this week. Actually,
We really did. This was a mixed bag.
we had a straight up meta horror comedy, and then like a fucking hidden gore gem, and whatever the fuck we want to call this. Like
And then, yeah,
it's like an
a
action
classic,
superhero.
a 100-year-old classic.
Yeah, 100-year-old classic.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's
This
quite
was like
the,
a good movie to put in right here because even though it was vampires and even though it was creature feature and even though it was all those other things, it felt just like.
A palate cleanser.
But it was a little too long. I will say that for whatever that stretch in
Yeah,
the 90s and
fair.
2000s, they
So was-
loved making
so was
2+ hour
Blade.
movies.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But like this one would have been great at like a $1.40, a $1.45 even. If you could have just took 15 minutes off of this, even if it was a fun 15 minutes, just tighten up the package, get me out of here because there's not that much life in this.
Take out 15
Right.
minutes of fighting, and we still have 90 minutes
Fucking
of fighting.
Yeah.
Honestly, and I don't know if you guys get this, but I get what the term I'm calling it is what I just made up is like action fatigue. That like it's so much action in a row
You get, like,
that like
fatigued.
you get bored.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, like it's just how much longer do I have to watch Wesley Snipes walk into a room and kill and fight a bunch of
Yeah,
people?
man. The same with like the shaky cam stuff. Like when it's like going so hard you can't see what's going on. It's
Yeah.
like there comes up and gore even too when it becomes like excessive and you're like, cool, okay, we've been watching this for like a minute now. Like let's get to it.
Yeah.
I get that, and I
this does-
commented a few times with Mike because we watched this together. It's like, oh man, that's another long fight sequence.
Yeah.
This is insane. It's very gratuitous.
And like we said, that at least the story that all the violence surrounds is way better and cooler and more interesting than Blade. Like the Reapers are fucking tight. The
They're
way
cool
that
concept.
they have like
The split,
they have like a split chin, so they can.
and the like neurotoxin and the fucking infected tongue thing.
Yeah,
and like the
they,
hidden fang type of shit that's like
They're
like a
crazy.
Platypus,
Yeah.
whatever.
It's
Yeah.
kind of like how they're kind of snake-like in a way, as in like they can open up their mouth way wider than they should be able to, and that's mostly because it like folds open, and also because they have teeth that contain like a venom that paralyzes you and that kind of shit.
I like
and,
how much
it
thought
was
was
cool
put into
watching
that.
them flay out like that.
You get a full-on like autopsy scene where they like go through like how
That was
it
a fun
works.
scene.
Like
That was
I
a
love
fun
that
scene.
in all horror films.
when they
Yeah.
capture the thing and then
they
dissect
like
it.
they show it and like how it like this is how it moves, and it has like kind of
Well, you said
pseudo.
that ironically, and I don't think you meant to say it,
Alien.
but that's where it comes from. For me, it's not just Alien,
Yeah.
which is actually before it, but you said when they catch the thing, and it's like in the thing, also in Alien, iconic,
Yeah.
these autopsy scenes, but it's like the chest burster is great, or the like, holy shit, with the head coming out. It's
just
so
so
good.
good.
It's been done so well in the past that any scene like that now is like you're going to be on the edge of your
I also
seat.
like kind of want it. Like I want you to include that in the movie, to like a I don't know, like a cliche level. Like not that it should be that way, but it's like I am expecting it, and please give it to me.
What, like the story, the background of the creatures?
Yeah, like if you guys are gonna have a crazy creature with all this weird like morphology and like a
Explain
mutant
it.
stuff, like
You're
like,
bringing scientists
get
in
the
here.
corpse out, like cut it
Yeah.
open,
Right.
show me how it works.
I like that too, and that makes sense for you because you're like a huge like
I
lore
love
guy. You're like,
it.
don't just like, present
me.
a random like creature, like cut them open and like show me what exactly. And that autopsy scene was ultimately necessary because, of course, during the autopsy they reveal, the heart's only accessible from this little angle, and it's like, I wonder how
Yeah.
the final guy is gonna die.
Yeah. Right through the armpit. Yep.
Yep.
But just I don't know. It's anytime that you can like kind of do your own little thing on vampirism. I'm down. Like I'll watch it. It might not be good or great, but like I'll watch it.
Did you like, dislike, or didn't care that Whistler is in it, even though he's
Love
presumed
it.
dead in the first one?
Okay,
Perfect.
so they kind of like just hand wave it away really quickly.
Yeah, he's just alive. He's
It's
just
like,
alive
well-
again, and he's back to biz,
It's
back
like-
to work.
I'm gonna inject you with this. You're either gonna be cured or not, and daylight's coming in 12 hours, and then he's fine.
Yeah,
It was the right decision
So,
for the movie.
sure.
It's clunky if you consider it a passing of the baton, but like
it's probably
Guillermo
like
del Toro made the movie that he wanted to make, and he needed Whistler to do it, and the movie's better for it.
No. It's probably like an 8 comic arc, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I get it.
it's very comic booky. I didn't love it, but I do agree with what you're saying. Is Del Toro needed Whistler for this?
For his movie.
Yeah,
And that's how comics work. Also, like once that character exists, there's different authors and arcs, and it's
What did you?
there's a whole bunch of different shit.
Think about Norman Reedus.
his performance, his character.
Yeah, just his performance, his character, all that. Like,
I thought it was pretty good. I mean, he was supposed to play like a kind of obnoxious, like younger Whistler replacement that ends up being a bad guy, and I think he portrayed that well. I mean, I wasn't like 100% sure, but as soon as he was introduced, like, to be honest, I never fully trusted him.
It's a bad guy.
Because especially like
Big
when
bad
you
guy.
meet, and I don't know what, I mean, I'm sure they probably did this on purpose, but like when you meet Whistler in the first one, it's like, no question about it, and you meet this kid, kind of like a young gun hotshot. He, the way he meets Blade is because he was like about to fuck 2 vampires that tried to kill him, and he got saved, and he had those scars, and is that even a real story? Who knows? But I think he played the character well, which is, an obnoxious traitor. And yeah.
yeah, very similar to like Aaron Paul in Breaking Bad, or
In what way?
just like obnoxious and like.
Oh, yeah.
Younger.
I mean, Aaron Paul is
Sexy.
he's so good and sexy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was decent.
What'd you rate it?
63. It's Blade 1 with a better story. Still just a lot of action fatigue and gun violence and and sequences that are cool, but the same sequence for an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's fair. I don't know. I like the original. This is good in a different way. But yeah, man, a lot of just kung fu. So if you're in for that, then watch it. But not my favorite. So yeah, I'm gonna give this 65.
It's a good week, man. I'll tell you what. For those of you who know, I'm a huge horror fan. But if there's a second genre or exploitation category that I'm really, really, really big on, it's kung fu. I love kung fu. This movie, so many times I was saying to Rob, I was like, dude, this is fucking sick. It's kind of messy. It's a little too long. It would be better if Blade didn't exist, I feel like, just because then I wouldn't have some of the reservations I have about this movie. All of that being said, I don't really fucking care. You touched on it because Wesley Snipes is in here doing some real shit. There's some good martial arts choreography in here, and Guillermo del Toro is one of the only people I could think of that could have pulled this movie off. I actually like this movie way more than I want to admit, and a lot of it is martial arts. I agree on the action fatigue, but there's a level of it that I'm able to watch and just appreciate his actual craftsmanship and his technical ability, because I'm like, holy shit, dude, they're actually doing that. It's pretty good. 72.
Oh. We'll see what the Elmers think of Blade 2.
Speaking of what the Elmers think, this is something we hadn't done on the podcast yet, and we'll do it a couple more times before the end of the month. But the next movie was the first of 3 of the family horror picks. That was the category I picked. This is a movie I picked. This is 2012's Hotel Transylvania. It's got everybody and a couple other people in it. It is from DreamWorks. It's 2012. It's an incredibly popular franchise. I think it's got 3 sequels and a TV series, or a streaming, a Netflix series or something.
Damn.
It's made a lot of fucking money, and a lot of people have been in the series over the course of its existence. This is my first time seeing it. Don't think I'll be catching up with the rest of the series. I had probably too high of hopes for this movie. I know it's a family movie. I know it wasn't going to be typically what we do here, but it's spooky themed. It's got some talent in it, and DreamWorks delivers from time to time. I love Shrek. The series is good. Trolls is good. Some of these are a little bit more adult than this movie. This movie felt very much like it was for almost only kids, and there was a lot of songs, and maybe that's kind of why it felt that way. A lot of musical talent is in the cast, and you can kind of tell. It just felt like it's fucking sing-along for half of it. So, Elmers, if you got kids, this is a good one to watch them. If you are kind of more the gore hounds, like myself and Bill, that you might just want to skip this one altogether. You might even skip the review.
Yeah, honestly, even if you're not a gorehound, I wouldn't particularly recommend this movie. It's cute, but it doesn't really stand out any other way in that other that it's Halloween themed and there are monsters in it. So
Exactly.
there are better films that do what this does.
Yeah.
Right? Both animated and live action. So, but yeah, it's popular. It's really popular. And there were a few laughs. It's not like I'm, made of stone, but I am a cynical, single, old gay man. And this movie doesn't have a lot for me.
Yeah, I don't think this movie has a lot for
Any of us.
But I do agree it is cute. Like you've said, though, it's not a new story. It's been done. It doesn't feel like a horror movie at all, and that's not just because it's made for families, but it's literally because it's just it almost just seems like a Disney movie where the characters are just dressed up in costumes.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
sense,
it's more like they're dressed in costumes than they are Dracula and the Mummy and everybody else.
Exactly.
Which is a weird thing.
Yeah,
like
it's
I
kinda
think
hard
you
to
said this. You're like
explain.
for a bunch of monsters, they're really concerned with like monogamy and like pure
yeah,
love
and like marriage and
marriage.
stuff. Yeah, they're like really big into
It's just,
like
it's just
like,
a different backdrop
oh,
for a
you-
Disney story.
you only
I know
sing
it's
once,
Disney,
and
but
like there's a
yeah,
lot
you
like a
know.
lot of that, and like just it's her 18th birthday. It's just
118.
108. Yeah, but again, it's just like a lot of
Funny.
filters of that like placed over it, and which
That
is
is funny.
which is fine, and like all the stuff with like the fake village is really funny to me. Like that's cute.
All I know is that
And
if I had
fucked
like
up.
a fucking 7-year-old kid and they were super into this of all things
Sure.
instead of like whatever the same exact thing is, but doesn't have scary monsters in it, like I'd be like, hell yeah, my kid likes Hotel Transylvania, and that's about it. And by the time they were 10, I'd be like, you still watching that fucking garbage?
We're watching
Dude,
Halloween.
we're watching Hatchet.
Yeah.
You've never seen the Serbian film?
Oh, well, that's
Hotel
an interesting
Transylvania
film to
then?
watch
We're
with your
watching
child.
Solo next.
You can show your kids any films that are
You can. They're your property.
right? Like you can show them like R-rated movies. You can show them NC-17s. So we can watch
feed 'em
Solo.
booze.
You can watch Solo with your kids legally.
Wait,
Listeners,
you're saying you could get your kids drunk and watch Solo with them
Yep.
in Missouri or everywhere?
I think everywhere. in the
But
US.
mostly Missouri.
Mostly Missouri.
Missouri. I don't have a ton to say about this movie that I haven't already said. I
Yeah.
can give it a rating if you
Let's
want.
go ahead and rate it because there's nothing to talk about.
I mean,
I had a lot to talk about,
Did
but
you
we can
really?
rate it. No.
No. Oh, okay. Go ahead, Bill.
Rate it?
Yep.
I'll give this a 55. I've seen worse movies. I'll probably watch worse movies this month, but yeah, this is
the worst of the week for you?
doesn't. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes.
I disagree with that.
Yes, this is definitely the worst movie of the week, but I mean, like, as much as there's nothing there for me to like, there's also not a lot there for me to hate, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Well, it ended up right in the middle of the scale for you. Like, 50, 55, would you say?
58 or something.
Yeah,
shit.
you
I
don't even care
know.
because it's a take it or leave it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was cute.
Sure. I agree. And you know what? I'll rate it. I gave it a 51. I was right there on the same thing. Take it or
Yeah.
leave it. I don't have a lot to say negative about it. I know mostly it wasn't for me. It's cute. Got a couple chuckles. And an amazing amount of talent involved in this. Like, it's not going to be poorly put together. It's not going to be offensive. It's not going to turn you away unless you're some fucking uber weird Christian who, like, doesn't let your kids have imaginations and shit. To turn this off and honestly yourself next. But, yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, I didn't really like this movie. I'm not going to watch it again, but it's also not in any way offensive or like it's just something I was required watching, and I watched it on my phone. So I'm going to give this a 49.
49.
We're all, like, right there.
Yep.
It's all right there, and it
is a
doesn't
film
fucking matter.
that
Fucking
exists
50.
that we watched. And you know what? Another film that exists that we watched is A
Oh,
Field in
fucking
England.
A.
That was 2013. It was Bill's pick for his period piece.
This was my
Bill,
period piece.
Elaborate on this movie that you chose.
Fuck,
Made
man.
us watch.
This one was a weird one. I didn't really know much about it. I knew that obviously it was a period piece. It takes place during the English Civil War, and I knew it was really trippy and weird and polarizing is pretty much all I knew. So I was kind of like, just fuck it, just like throw it on there. And woof.
What a pile of shit.
Crazy. And
Is it?
not in the best way or a good way. It's fucking mostly nonsense. It's hard to find things I liked about this movie except for the score and the wieners and
Yeah.
the hogs.
This movie's like, it looks like an Ansel Adams calendar. It's a lot of black and white landscapes, shots.
It's very pretty in that
it
regard.
is very pretty.
That
A lot of,
is really pretty.
meadows and,
There's
like,
a lot of great
mature,
shots of
like,
cinematography
English
for a
oaks
lot of
and
times.
yew trees. And
Mm-hmm.
But really, mostly what this film is a bunch of deserters from the English Civil War that then eat a bunch of mushrooms and come across a witch of some sort who's
an alchemist assistant.
Yeah, an alchemist who's like stolen like knowledge and like magic scrolls from his master. He's pulled out of a field in England with a bunch of rope. That doesn't really make much sense. It starts getting crazy and weird because they're eating
That part's
mushrooms.
fucking nuts.
It just
The
gets
rope
wilder
out of
and
the
wilder and
tent
wilder.
shit?
Yeah.
It's pretty fucking dumb.
Someone gets raped at a certain point, and then there's a lot of just like walking around and then digging, and then people getting killed and trying to kill each other. And it's just
Man,
not
all of
very-
that happened in the movie? That's crazy.
And honestly, the film's not very good. It's kind of a slog. It's boring.
It's crazy that all that happened because, like, when you said it, I was like, yeah, but I watched it and it fucking...
I gave this like
Man, this was
I
bad.
gave this like a good 35 minutes, and I was like, hold on a second. And I paused it and went into the living room and just took the most fucking monster of a fucking hit and went back and watched the rest of it and like couldn't move and like which made it like a little bit better. But honestly, the last 40 minutes I couldn't really tell you what happened except for people were shot and there was someone that I thought was dead and he ended up not being dead, and there were wieners in it, which made me laugh because I was really fucking high. But overall it was really just an attempt at being like a really artful, thought-provoking, beautiful film. And like Mykel said, it ended up like a lot of times when directors try to make a film like that, it ends up of just a pile of shit nonsense, and it unfortunately ended it was that way.
This is the second worst movie we've watched this week so far.
Correct.
Or not this week, this month.
This month.
I appreciate you keeping your streak alive. I look forward to suffering through Dracula 3D next week, Uninvited after that, and then ending with Visitor Q. I don't think there's a week that goes by where you're not the favorite to have a movie to slog through, and I appreciate your commitment to shit cinema because that's why we get together every week. Because I would have never finished watching this fucking movie. To me, it felt a lot like Beyond the Black Rainbow in ways, in the sense that I didn't want to watch it.
That.
It was, because it
Not
wasn't
that much.
as nonsensical and it was prettier. And
Yeah.
this was
It was
better
also
than
90 minutes.
No Rico's because it was an hour less. I didn't have to read subtitles, which I don't mind. It was just like, don't give me additional homework when I'm not interested.
Yeah.
And this movie was just like, there was a couple things where I was like, fuck, that is so pretty. I don't even care. And you know what? Honestly, and I think I said this to Rob when we watched it together. If I was 17 years old and high on mushrooms, and this was a 14-minute long Tool video that I watched on YouTube for the first time, that would have been the coolest fucking
Would've changed your
shit
life.
I ever fucking seen. But it wasn't that. 31.
Yeah, I gave this 39.
31 and 39.
Really didn't like this film.
I
I've actually
hated it.
seen this before.
Really?
Yeah.
When and why?
I saw it close to when it came out. Honestly, I watched it because I saw that Julian Baer was in a horror film that was black and white about the English Civil War. I was like, that sounds insane. Like, I want to watch that. And Julian Baer is in this film for the cold open about 4 minutes before he's killed.
Yeah.
It's not a spoiler because it's the cold open. And yeah, and I watched it, and I think my friends fell asleep, and I watched all of it, and I didn't really understand what I had seen at the time.
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I know that it doesn't matter because I didn't really miss out on anything.
I gave this a 50.
Just so you know, you did give Hotel Transylvania 55, and then you gave it a 58. But you also said that this is the second worst movie we watched this week.
You know I don't fucking tell. I'm making these numbers up.
Yeah, he
We
makes
all
them up.
are.
We're all making them up.
The points don't matter, but like,
Yeah.
at least you liked Norrico's more than this.
Fuck yeah. I like Norrico's.
I know, yeah, and that's like real as fuck.
Yeah.
But Hotel Transylvania is like comparable, but like Hotel Transylvania is not for you, or like what's up? Because like this movie was honestly really hard to watch and like upsetting. And it doesn't sound like you were that frustrated with it.
I wasn't.
So what'd you get out? What did you like?
I liked the fucking fact that it was nonsensical and it was wild. And like you mentioned the part of him getting pulled out of the tent with the rope that was really
I did not
stupid.
like that shit.
And I liked that. I thought it was fucking weird and like kind of creepy. And like I said, like I was so under the influence of something that like I could barely move, and I was by myself. And I know like watching movies with other people is, I'm not saying this movie's good if you watch it alone, it's not, but like that doesn't help either. But yeah, I mean, this shit was bad. It's not good. I would recommend it to people that were like, oh, I really liked this movie called Beyond the Black Rainbow. Do you have something to recommend? And I'd be like,
yes, it's way better.
Field in England, it's better. But I mean, yeah, my batting average is pretty low right now, but you know, it's whatever. I didn't make these movies, and all the movies I picked I haven't seen except for the Force Watch, which was recommended to see. So these ones are new to me.
Hey, Toolbox Murders is banger. Nosferatu
That
got
shit
an
was
80.
tight.
Nosferatu is my highest rating so far.
Well, that one was, I mean, I knew we were going to like, I knew you seen that and loved that, and I knew that was going to be appreciated. But yeah, I went out on a limb. I'm throwing out, hopefully find an undiscovered banger in here, and we haven't yet. Well, we kind of did a little bit with Toolbox.
And Loved Ones and Toolbox, yeah.
I didn't pick Loved Ones, but...
Oh, well, for
I
you. Well, I thought you just meant in general.
Oh, yeah. No.
Well, I would say that this list, if you look back at the ones that, well, because we did the list last year together, and then I've seen your list from the years before, and you've seen some of mine. It's like, this one has the least amount of things that I recognize. I mean, there's some, the Nightmare on Elm Street, Nosferatu, Blade, fucking whatever, Creature from Black Raccoon. But a lot of it is taking a shot in the dark and like, you know?
I tried to step out of my comfort zone and like do some picks that's like, oh, like this is not, because I originally like was like, oh, I'm gonna do 10 movies that you can only find on F'd Up Movies because like that's what I want.
That's a wild thing to just like stick to like a whole theme for 10 movies.
9, technically.
9 is better than 10.
Triples
are best. But yeah, long story short, this movie is not good.
No.
But it does have some gore and some PPs and some people getting
It is really pretty at times.
And the cinematography is good. And honestly, the performances are good too.
I don't think it's very good.
And there was some dialogue that I liked, mostly early on. But yeah, never going to watch this again or recommend it.
I was going to say, I don't
balls
think
are screaming like harpies.
Very good in terms of the dialogue being historically accurate. It seems like...
No,
it's not a very
that.
like, I know it's a period piece, and like I'm not criticizing you for picking it as such, but like it seemed like there was a lot of anachronisms there, and then it quickly becomes evident that that's not the intention of the movie too. Also, so like I mean, take it for what it's worth. I think.
Yeah, for sure.
And then the last movie of the week, we just finished watching it together. Rob, go ahead, tell us a little bit about it.
Only Lovers Left Alive. It's a vampire movie. It's not my vampire movie, but it's a movie about vampires.
Well, and it's your movie.
And it's my movie.
So it is your vampire movie.
It's a vampire movie that I picked. It's a Jim Jarmusch film from 2013. It stars Tom Hiddleston, who I thought was Jared Leto. He's not. He's Tom Hiddleston. And Tilda Swinton and John Hurt. And it's more of a really like a drama, romantic drama than true horror. But, you know, again, shots in dark, right? Even though I've seen this and I forced you guys to watch it. But it's sexy and it's sad.
Yeah.
It is sexy and it's sad, and I actually really did enjoy this movie. And it's because of what you just said. It's really sexy and it's really sad. And it's different from a lot of vampire movies. The focus is not on how... I mean, there is a lot of focus on how the vampires, like, get the blood that they need, but not really. It's more about the relationship between two vampires, Tom Hiddleston and Tilda Swinton, and their relationship and the current issues with the world. And there's like a lot of talk of zombies who are just humans, and they pretty much just like talk shit about humans all the time, and they talk about a lot of their, I mean, he doesn't have any heroes, but the people they respected from hundreds of years ago, which they bring up so many times. I feel like it's almost supposed to be funny. It's like so goofy how often they are you okay?
Yeah, fine.
How often they talk about like these really old like inventors and writers and stuff, and how like, oh, like, you know, Nikola Tesla could, you know, had a light bulb that didn't even have to be plugged in. These fucking zombies. But like,
yeah, Hiddleston is like really depressed, and Tilda Swinton like blames it on like Byron and Shelley and like Baudelaire. And, like,
yeah, it's like that line was really fucking funny.
From,
Yeah,
like, fucking like Victorian era. Yeah.
Yeah, and like it's so over the top, like emo, that it's good. Like, he's such a sad musician that is incredibly talented and has tons of fans, but he stays away from them and is mad when his music is played, though he knows that he's famous because he's purposely hiding from the people that know him, and he doesn't want his
And he has like
music
a
to be
wireless
played.
infinite power from Nikola Tesla's like blueprints that like runs his whole house.
Yeah, he's
in
got
Detroit.
a generator.
It's insane.
Yeah, he's got that Tesla generator.
A lot of this movie is Tom Hiddleston and Tilda Swinton driving around Detroit at night,
Which
is sexy.
sounds boring, but it was really beautiful, and the soundtrack was honestly incredible. It was literally bangers only.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think we're all fans of Tilda on the pod. She is just an sexy, possibly human woman that we love.
She's pretty great for a woman. Wow.
That's not what I meant. You know what I mean? She almost looks and moves like robotic at times, which works for most of the roles that she's in, and it works for this one. And there are silly moments that weren't supposed to be silly, and honestly, it was predictable. I mean, they all have dreams about, and I can't even remember the character's name. Tilda Swinton's Eve's. Oh yeah, it's Adam and Eve. Duh.
Yeah, not
everybody has dreams about Eve's younger sister that Adam obviously hates. So it's like, okay, we know that A, this person is going to show up in the movie, and B, is going to like fuck shit up. And we meet Ian, who is kind of like Adam's confidant. It kind of seems like he's the only zombie that he trusts, even though that's kind of like a guess, because their relationship is kept strictly transactional, but there are moments throughout the film that he does subtly show that he does care about him, and because of that, I immediately knew, like, of course, I was like, oh yeah, of course this younger sister is gonna come and kill Ian. He's the only thing, he's like the only other character in this movie that has a name, and he's the only thing that the most emo character cares about, so of course he has to die. But yeah, I mostly just love the character of Adam just being an over-the-top emo recluse musician. Is super sexy, obviously
depressed, suicidal, like, yeah,
and like I feel that, and like they really fucking kind of skip over that, which was, but because it's a movie and because they're vampires, but for like a wife to find a loaded gun and learn and just know, oh, my husband was very seriously about to kill himself, she throws like 3 nice sentences at him and then throws on an album, and then they dance, and then it's just like, whatever. And it's like, yeah, I get like they're vampires, but I was like, he was going to kill himself, and like the lead up to it was like relatively dark. They're ordering. He gets Ian to get the bullet from him. Of course, it's got to be wood, which
'cause
is a
it's
nice
safe,
vampire
yeah.
trope. But overall, like, I like this movie, even though, like you said, it's mostly two people driving around in a car at night
Yeah.
listening to music.
Well, I don't know. Like, I know what you're saying. Like, oh, they're vampires, but you get a sense, and I've seen this movie before, more than once. But you get a sense from them that they've lived so long that they don't live together. She lives in fucking Morocco,
Yeah.
Tangiers,
Mhm.
and he's in Detroit. And so when they're FaceTiming, and he's got his whole setup, like the what do you call it? His like CRT TV and all that shit. Like he's a little inventor. She can tell just by the look in his eyes that he's like in a bad place again, because he's a sad boy.
Yeah.
He's a musician, all that stuff. So I don't know. I feel like it's just like a repeat of like what they always go through, and that's why they're still together and they can't live without each other. They like even say that. I think it's like a piece of dialogue where he's like, "Oh, you guys can't live without each other," kind of thing.
Yeah, we don't exactly know for sure how long they've been apart, but they kind of make us think it's 87 years, which is when the last time her Ava, Eve's
was
younger
around.
sister, did something, which we never know. But she's like, "Are you still mad about that thing in London? That was 87 years ago," and we can only assume that she did the same thing, which,
Yeah.
like we talked about off pod, like this movie really shows vampires as addicts in a really good way, and movies do that. Like Thirst did that very well, but in this movie it does it in a way as when like they ingest blood, like they get high. Like it's like I
whole
mentioned, it's like
sequence.
Train Spotting. Like they take a gulp of blood and it's like that POV camera on them like falling into the mattress, like they just like
She's like,
tied up and shot up.
Where do you keep it? Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
We'll-
and
we'll feed you. Don't worry about where I keep it.
yeah.
Mykel, what'd you think?
This movie fucked me up, dude.
Yeah.
This movie is like really good. It's like honestly, like fucked me up. Like
I
this
teared up a
movie is
little
like,
bit like while we were watching it, I'm not gonna lie.
oh, I cried like a fucking child who was lost at fucking Six Flags.
Hey, I got lost at Disney World. If that was a jab at me.
No.
Well,
Kid, this movie fucked me up. I have nothing to say. Watch it. It's really good. This is probably like my favorite movie that I've watched for the podcast.
really?
Yeah, this movie fucking. Yep, it's good. It's a good movie, dude.
I'm glad you liked it because I liked it too, and yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
You want to rate it?
Sure, yeah. I'll give this an 80. This was my favorite movie of the week for sure, and I think if I watched it alone on my own, it would have been rated higher, for sure. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this was good.
84. Out the door.
84 out the door. Say no more.
Yeah. The one was good. I don't know, man. I'm trying to think of what we watched for the first time. I saw The Thing. That fucking was really good. Obviously, everybody knows I love Midsummer and Texas Chainsaw. Thirst is really fucking high up there. But, like, it's like Dead Alive and The Thing. It's really hard to put this movie above those, but I think it has to be right there. I thought Thirst was not ever going to be topped for a vampire movie because that shit was banger. But this was just like a little bit shorter. And I think like it's not that it's in English, but like culturally it makes more sense. It has more resonation. And like I identify with the characters more because it is native to me. And I think that all of that just fuck it, dude. I also did not know what to fucking expect. I'm going to wear this movie probably for like the rest of the month, man. I'm going to give it a 91.
Whoa, a 90er.
Okay.
It's
Hell
good.
yeah.
That was
Good.
really good.
I'm glad you liked it.
I don't know. That was good.
All right.
Well, that was the last one of the week.
We got
another week.
another week up. I think we got to announce.
We got a
right?
handful of movies next week. Let's go ahead and run down them. Next week, we will be doing A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. It's my slasher pick.
And then we're going to do Dracula 3D. That's Argento's Dracula. That's my based on a book pick.
Then we got Rigor Mortis. It's on Peacock. It's
So
my
good.
haunting ghost story film.
I'm going to join the vampire fun. I got 1986 Vamp. Grace Jones. Been waiting for that one for a while.
And then we're going to do my family pick, Ernest Scared Stupid.
Can't fucking wait for that. Honestly, that's been one of the most anticipated movies of the month, not just for myself, but I think all of us.
It's going to be fucking fun.
It's going to be good. After that, we have a fun flick, Shadow of the Vampire. This is my based on a true story. And this is the film that's about the shooting of Nosferatu with some liberties taken. That is unfortunately not currently streaming anywhere. I have a digital copy, and I'm sorry, Elmers.
We'll
Do what you can.
figure it out
It's really good.
if you want to watch
Find it.
Last movie of the week is going to be my based on a true story. It's going to be dark. I don't know how much horror theme it's going to be, but I mean the real life horror is there. That's the Stanford Prison Experiment, 2015. So a little bit of everything next week.
A little bit of everything.
A lot of vampires.
Imagine that.
Well, shit. We should probably go to bed.
Yeah.
It's getting spooky. I'm hearing shit. There's like
I've been trying not to.
witches like laughing behind us. Have you been hearing that?
I
The
thought it
bubbling and
well for a
shit.
while. No,
Is
because
that the TV?
no, for a while it was. I don't think it's TV, but like the speakers or whatever for the fucking fairgrounds or whatever the fuck this is. It's not like a fairgrounds. It's like makeshift event. It was
Yeah.
like fucking Salem in
I thought this
fucking
was
October.
the Salem tar pits.
Is that here? I know they're.
Is that here?
Where the fuck
I
really
can hear
are
'em.
we?
I can
Wait,
definitely hear
listen.
them. Yeah, those are definitely tar pits.
It's tar pits.
I can tell.
Oh my god. What have
We
done?
might be in La Brea. I think we're in California.
Damn.
That's
Well,
some good fucking weed.
Should we announce where we're gonna be next week?
Yeah. I mean, it's actually one of the spookiest cities in all of North America. We're going to New Orleans.
That's right, folks. We're gonna be in New Orleans.
Oh, voodoo lady, shaking that stick
Hey.
and driving me
We
crazy.
couldn't afford to stay in the French Quarter.
Your eyes
We
are
do have
red
time
and
to stay in the French
hazy.
Nickel, though, and which is a cheap Airbnb about 40 minutes outside of New Orleans.
Do we need a reservation for Cafe Le Monde?
We don't. I
You
was
just
just gonna
go in,
kind of
right?
hope to stay in
Beignet?
line. Yeah,
We go to
beignet.
Beignet.
We'll
We can
get,
get
yeah,
some
we'll get
beignet.
some chicory coffee. It'll be good.
Chicory Dickory Dock, your mom was.
A nice lady. So all I want to say is thank you, Elmers.
If you made it this far, thank you.
This feels like a long one. So
Thank
she
you.
said.
It is.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
Ow.
Yeah, pull up with us, watch two films. Come on, watch two films.